there we go. There's a live up in the top left. 欢迎大家。就现在我帮 Danielle 帮蛋姐做这个直播，然后我们会面试，然后听这两位的那些故事，然后我会帮助他们翻译，让你们听懂。首先我问他们，让他们介绍一下，我们就听一下他们的故事。So basically it's running now, and I just said to everybody that you two would give an introduction, and I'll help you translate that for them. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Okay.
Can you see us?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you not see us? Can you not see yourself?
There's a small window on the screen. I'll have to get Danielle to have a look at it. But,
okay.
Danielle, just look at this, please. We've got a.
他们现在在讨论是有没有什么问题，然后
好了，可以了，
大家去看一下，好像是没问题。
Okay.
我就帮他们介绍一下。Okay, perfect.
This is Veronica.
Veronica.
And I'm Graham.
那个女士叫 Veronica, 然后男士叫Graham. Do you want to introduce a bit more about each of yourself?
Okay. Sure.
Oh God.
Well, we've lived in Auckland for quite a number of years now, in different places in Auckland. We're pretty much city people, but we enjoy going to the country. We have a son has a small land holding up north of Auckland. We like to go there. We enjoy going to the beach. We have a small grandson that we have a lot to do with. We've been helping to bring up because he has a solid dad.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and life is pretty busy for us. I'm still working. I still go to a construction site every day. I leave home at 5:30 in the morning, and I get home about 5 o'clock at night.
Okay, I'll translate that. 他说他们两个都住在 Auckland, 然后算城市的人。他有一个儿子，有一个比较大的地在 Auckland 往北，然后他也有一个孙子。他说他们两个夫妻就是喜欢去海边玩，然后Graham 还在工作，他还天天去上班，在一个 construction 一个盖房子、盖楼的，或者是对一个不知道是盖楼还是盖房子，就是一个那种的场地去上班。
I'm nearly 77.
Veronica, is there something you want to add or share about yourself?
What do you say?
Something to share about yourself, what you do.
What do I do? I retired from work in 2018, and I do lots of stuff. I work with flowers. I'm a florist, and I've done flowers for events and for weddings. I love hospitality, and I love doing events and also hosting people in our home. I love to cook, to bake. I love spending time with my family. Our grandson is 6, going on 7. We've shared responsibility of looking after him since he was 3 months old. So he's every day, or most days we have him. I pick him up after school, bring him home. His daddy picks him up after from here. They have dinner, they go home. So we're on call 24/7 with him, plus all the other things that I have to do. I like to go to the pool and swim 3 or 4 times a week. I do 540 meters a day when I go. What else do I do? We're Christians, and we go to church, and that's a big part of our life. So
you do meals for church?
I do meals for church as well. Last week I helped in the kitchen, and we cooked 61 meals, and I also did some myself. I did 16 chicken roast dinners. So it's lots of things. My son has got a food shop and a food court in Ponsonby, and I help him to do his desserts.
Okay. I won't get all of it, but I can remember most of it.
You want us in short bursts?
Do you just want it in short bursts?
Oh no, that's fine. That's fine. You just say it'll be interesting for me, and then I just got to tell you how much I can. Good for my memory, but I think I got most of it. 他是18年就退休了，然后退休之后，他说他很多爱好，其实很多的爱好一个就是他喜欢就是应该说接客，但是不是客人，就是有人来他的家，他给他们做饭，然后那个人做客，然后还有就是他的，我刚刚说那个孙子就从6个月，现在他6岁，他也跟他花很多的时间，然后1周他会去游泳4次，然后他们也互相就说他们也是基督徒，所以他也会在他们的教会也做很多的东西，然后他也给一个例子，就是就可以理解做很大餐，就是给大家都吃，然后对，这是他说的。Okay, yeah, I think I mean, if I've missed stuff, people listening, they'll hear it, because I think Danielle said a lot of the audience, they're like maybe bilingual. So they like to hear the English, they like to hear the Chinese. And if it's long, I've got a pretty good memory, but I might not get everything, but I'll do my best. And in terms of making it enjoyable, like I enjoy the English and I enjoy the conversation, but when I've got to interpret it, sort of like conversation, but also remembering of like numbers and details.
Okay.
So that's the background about the two of you. Danielle tends to ask on the show how you two met and you two's stories, and they'll just be dynamic, and we'll see how it flows, but we'll just try to find points to pause at least every few minutes so I can try to give a summary of that.
We met when we were 15.
Yeah.
And we met when we were 15 and we got married when we were nearly 22. So we've known each other for 61 years and we've been married for 54 years.
Okay, I'll pause there. Heaps of numbers in there. So 他们15岁的时候认识，然后22岁的时候 was it 22 or 21 you got married? 22.
About 22, yeah.
Yeah, 22岁就是结婚，然后他们互相认识61年，所以算是时间很长的。You can go on if there's more to say, or if that's everything, then I can ask questions.
Veronica, she actually spotted me when I was doing my paper round. I used to deliver papers, and also when I started work, I was actually an apprentice builder at the school where Veronica was still attending. So yeah, we got to know each other, when we were quite young, and by the time we were 15 and 16, we had known each other quite well, and Veronica started coming to the church I was going to, and going to the youth group, and yeah, we're just doing things together right from a very early age.
When you were doing the paper round, were you delivering to her house, or was it like a neighbor or like a house nearby that she saw you?
Oh, just in different places. We would meet down the street on a Friday night because that was the night when the shops were open, and I would be down the street actually having a street meeting with my church. We would be out doing church meeting down in the street. We used to call open air ministry. And Veronica would be around, and then we would go shopping and do stuff together. And we just. Do
you remember the first time? Was the first time you saw her, or the first time either of us saw each other was the paper round?
Probably not so much then, but the first time that she really caught my eye was when she was down the street with her sisters. She got 3 sisters.
Yeah.
And they all used to dress the same. Her mother used to dress them all the same. And they were all different heights, like the oldest girl down to the youngest girl. And Veronica was always like the mother of the group.
So she's got 3 younger sisters.
3 younger sisters, yeah.
And so that's your first memory. It's just all 3 of them, all 4 of them actually, all lined up with Veronica being the oldest one. Let me show translate that. 我一开始问他说他工作就是那时候送报纸，我送报纸的时候会看到他。后来他做一个盖房子的一个就是最低的一个单位，就是他还算是实习。然后他在做这个时候，他的那个学校在他的旁边。然后他说就认识他比较久。后来我就问。就是你一开始就是怎么会认识他，或者怎么知道他？然后他说 应该就是他有可能做他的工作之前就有一个很深刻的影响，就是因为他妈妈会把他的孩子都穿的一样的，然后有4个女孩 ，Veronica 是最大的，然后她有3个妹妹，就是不同的身高都穿一样的衣服的，然后他说他是他第一个能想到就是认识那个 Veronica 的时候。So if there were all 4 of them, did you get to know the whole family or all 4 of them?
Yeah.
How did that sort of?
Yeah, we knew the whole family. I knew her mother. Mother was a lovely lady. Her mum and dad used to go and visit them, and I was welcomed into the family as very early on, and as I say, Veronica soon as she got older was able to come and join our church, and so we just got to know each other more there.
OK， 他说就是未来就是他会被他的家庭比较受欢迎的，然后都会认识的，然后后来他会欢迎到来他的那个教会，所以在教会可能开始发展，但是一开始他们就算是家庭，就算是从那时候就变成家庭朋友了。OK， Veronica, do you want to see your side of it? Is it the same? Is it different? What's your first memory? Because I mean, you probably wouldn't have the thought of all 4 of you lined up, all dressed at different heights, dressed the same. I mean, I know you would, but it would be different in terms of
white jackets, red jackets, and white skirts. I remember that.
Yeah. So do you have a different view of it, Veronica, or what's your thought, your first memory, or?
Well, I guess as a Christian, because we are Christians, there's always that feeling of knowing who the person is you're to be with. And I felt quite early on in our relationship or our friendship that Graham would be my husband. We didn't stay together all the time. We would separate, but we always came back together. So we had 7 years of courtship. So and it was through that time I always knew, and even if I had another boyfriend, I knew I wasn't happy. I knew that I wanted to marry Graham.
Wow, that's a really good point. I'm going to share that. 他说你7年的从认识到结婚的那段时间，他也会认识其他人，也有可能其他的男朋友，但是他说可能是因为他是基督徒他一直在他心里就知道他未来的老公会是 Graham。这是他说的我下一步就可能问你怎么知道或者怎么知道这个感觉。I was going to ask, how did you know that it was going to be Graham? What you said? How did you know?
Is that for me?
No. It's not. Sorry. It's sorry. It's I was just Vivian. I was just saying. Inside of that, how did you said you had that feeling? I was translating that. You had the feeling with you, Graham was going to be your husband, and inside that was it 7-year period. How did you know? A feeling?
It's just like if you meet somebody, you know that you either want to be with that person or no, you don't. Some people they go have several relationships before they decide who they want, or they make a decision about somebody and it doesn't work out anyway. So for me, I just knew from an early age that Graham would be my husband, and I guess through the times of breaking up, coming back, I just knew, and that we did end up together.
And do you think it's also related to being a Christian that helped you know that? Like if you weren't a Christian, you might not have known?
I guess that's the foundation of our marriage.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for our Christian faith, it would be easy in a marriage to separate. But we make a commitment before God. It's a sacred covenant. And whilst it's all very well to say it's sacred, it can still be broken, and it's broken by a lot of people. But for us, it has kept us. And I've never wanted to walk away. There have been times when you can't cope with things in your marriage and you I want to go, but then go where? And then start a new life with who? So there's always that knowing that God has brought us together, therefore we must work throughout the things.
OK， 他就说他可能是你一直都知道，然后就主动问他会不会跟你的教会有关系的。他说确实在他们的教会就基本上就是很难说怎么说呢，就是用比较重的话，或者就是告诉大家我们是一起，然后可能上帝来看我们什么什么的。但是确实他后面就说其实这句话也是没什么用，你还是要做出来的。所以可能2个方面，就是我没问我就是要听你这么理解。一个方面就是他们可能是上帝把他安排的，但是另外一方面就是不管怎么样他还是会调整自己，然后有时候会有那些困难的，然后那些困难的他也会想，就是假如我放弃这个，或者我不跟他在一起，因为可能我也不知道那些困难是什么但是就是我还会跟谁然后分享我的那个生命或者生活。所以就是后来他基本上就说他们的那个结构，对，他们的结构是有这个基督徒的可能基督徒在他的后面，但是确实我眼里还是就是他已经有选择，然后他就是坚持做，或者坚持有遇到那些困难的就调整自己，然后我就觉得 Graham 是他可能要跟他一辈子的。OK，
just about our age. Graham is 77 and I am 76. There's just 3 months difference between us.
OK， 如果你们也好奇他们的那些年龄 ，Graham 现在77岁，然后他就是76岁，所以他们区别不是1年，就是3个月，所以他们也是比较接近的。that probably that makes it a bit like if you're the same age, you sort of have a similar upbringing. I mean, knowing each other from quite a young time and having families know each other, doesn't necessarily make things easier, but it's like, you've probably grown up in a similar era and similar similar environment, which probably does help.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. You also mentioned, and this is just me speculating as I was like translating, I was rethinking of some of the things you said about the marriage and you staying together and then having that sacred covenant. But I think you said it's not always like that, meaning like to me it just implied there's probably other people at your church or other relationships that haven't necessarily stayed together, but you two sort of have. And I added in a bit, which I think was what you said, is just that like, it still comes down to that choice. Like you've got that word up there, but it's a choice. And like you were saying, you were saying like you would think who else, and there's no one else. So it sort of works together. But is there a bit more behind it in the sense like maybe, and I don't know this, but is it in the church or is it just society and marriage is not sticking together as much?
I don't think there's a magic formula. There's nothing to say that just because the two of you are Christians, everything's going to work out the way you want it to.
Yeah.
Basically, you have to work at it really, really hard. Yeah. Any relationship that you have, in any contract that you have, even in a secular setting, in a business, if you've got a contract with another person in a company, you have to work with that person and make sure that you both, come to the same agreement. You're both looking for the same goals. You both want the same outcomes.
Yeah.
It's the same in a marriage. I mean, especially when children come along, you both want the same things for your children, and you both work together to achieve the same thing. Does it always work out? No, it doesn't. And is it always easy? No, it's not, because there is conflict. There always will be. Two different people, two different ways of thinking. Veronica thinks very differently to me. I think differently. But at the end of the day, we have to dovetail it all together and make it work. And it does work.
Yeah, I'll definitely have some questions on that, but I want to try to translate that. And that was like perfectly exactly what I was sort of getting to. Graham 就刚刚说，他觉得他们的那个婚姻就像一个合同一样，然后就说是一个合同一样，就是对方都是要努力，不就是因为他们有基督，因为他们只是基督徒，这个东西都会出来。他说完全不是，就是 就像一个合同，我可能就是写我要这个，他肯定有先说他要那个，然后就有做这个合同，然后也不一定每次会出来，所以就是你肯定要有一个共上的目标。然后后来我有一些问题我会问他，然后就翻译。So yeah, that's interesting. And you also mentioned, you're saying the first question is when kids come along, how does kids? So I mean, that's a different stage, I guess. How did kids coming along like change it, or what if you to break down and analyze it, like before kids, then with kids? Maybe different challenges or different.
Before kids is easy.
Before kids is easy. Okay, this is really good. People want to hear this. 我问他就是这个不同的级别或者不同的水平，然后他说有孩子之前特别容易，后来他就要回答孩子之后。So what happened after kids? What is it just more people, harder, or more compromise?
You sometimes have different ideas of how you should go about things, how you should discipline children, for example, or how much you should give to your children, how much you should freedom they should have. I mean, it's just lots of little variations that you can disagree on, but you have to work through those. And I think where we've done really well is that I don't think our children have ever seen us in any serious conflict. Our children have never seen us shouting at each other or arguing loudly or verbally with each other. They've never seen us obviously hitting each other, anything like that. And so we've had a fairly, we've been able to keep it together and show our children a consistency. I think that's what I would like to say, that children want to see a consistency with their parents.
That's good. 他说就有孩子之后，当然也更难。然后他说他觉得他们做的比较好，就是他们从来没有在孩子前面有什么不好的，然后不好的可能就是暴力或者其实就是那些不好的话，在他们孩子眼里面，他们都是就比较团结。然后这个前面他也说，就是他们就养孩子的时候会有不同的看法。这个孩子就是很多不同的选择，就怎么把这个孩子长大的。后来他就讲这个东西在后面。Okay, how many children? So we haven't heard about it. How many children have you had, or did you? You might have said side. You did say you had one. So there was one son, was it?
Yeah, we have 3 sons.
Oh, you have 3. Oh, okay. Yep.
Our eldest son is 52. Our second is 51. And our youngest is 46.
46. 他有3个孩子，第一个我已经没听到是多大，第二个51岁，然后第3个就是47岁。
We have 10 grandchildren.
10 grandchildren， 然后有10个就后面一代的，就是那3个男孩，就3个对男孩是什么？就3个男孩，3个儿子，对他3个儿子都是下面就是有10个下一个代，是他们3个有10个孩子。Oh wow.
One thing I would say with regard to our children, we went through a difficult time with 2 of our kids, and it was Veronica who probably more than myself hanging in with them and determining that we were not going to sort of let them go, even though they were giving us a terrible time. And so
at different age groups or different times, or is it the same time?
Well, our youngest boy started really kicking against the normal things that we would want for him when he was just 12 years old, like taking up smoking, for example, and drinking at a very young age.
At 12 years old, wow.
Well, he was at intermediate school, and he definitely was sneaking his smokes at that young age, and that really worried us.
What do you think caused him to do that? Do you think it's the brothers or the school environment or the role? Like, what do you think?
I don't know. I have said to him, where did we sort of get it wrong? He said, you didn't get it wrong. I just made the choice to do what I wanted to do. So probably more influence from kids at school, perhaps.
Yeah. Like, while he thinks that's the truth for him, the reality is, I agree with you that it must be that environment that he's around, because if that wasn't in front of him, we didn't see that, he couldn't even have that choice to make.
Children don't necessarily want to do what their parents do. It would be nice if they did, but it doesn't always turn out like that.
他就说他们第三个就是最小的，也不是很乖，就12岁的时候他开始抽烟，开始喝酒。然后后来他长大之后，他们一问他他们在哪里做错误的，然后那个孩子就说没有做错误的，就是我自己选做这些东西。然后后来我就跟他讨论这个，他说这个他相信的就不一定是对，然后我们就互相就觉得应该是那时候那个环境，或他去的学校，然后他可能的那些朋友圈。但12岁就这两个，尤其是在这里，我觉得很夸张。So that was one of the, probably the start of one of the issues, because that might have gone on for a while. But do you want to say more about that?
I'm just saying that there were times when I would have liked to sort of cut two of my youngest boys, cut them loose and say, well, look, go your own way and we won't be bothered. But Veronica said, no, we're not going to do that. And we would go where they went. We would go to a nightclub where they were. We would go to a party where they were. We would just hang in as parents. And I'm glad we did, because it has paid off. We're still relatively reasonably close family. I think we're pretty close, especially with our middle son. He lives with us, and Veronica has a lot to do with him, helping him in his work. So yeah, we're really glad that we've hung in with our kids, and they've come through pretty well at the end.
Oh, transit that, and I've got lots of questions on that. 他说就是尤其是就是第2和第3那些小孩，Graham 就是把他们分享去的意思就是他们可能应该听很多不同的话，就是说这个例子，然后他就到这个点，就觉得你们要做这个选择，那就不跟我做这些东西，所以你们可以走你们自己的路。但是 Veronica 她的妈妈就是觉得不行，然后后来就是他们可能陪着他们做一些他们不爱的东西，然后他说现在他就是说这是对的，因为现在他第3个还是跟他们一起，然后有时候他们也会帮助他的工作，然后就是反正他们后来会发现这个是好，然后我也问他一些问题在这个。So can you tell me about what I picked up on the two? I haven't known much about the second one, but it was essentially there were points when you thought Graham they'd sort of made choice that you didn't necessarily agree with, and you thought they could make those decisions, but they should sort of not be as close to you or part of you. And then obviously you didn't choose that path, and later it sort of came around to you're close with them now.
I think what we need to say is that we were pastors of churches, and our boys, 2 of them, they didn't, the expectation of your children was pretty high from your congregation. They just wanted to be normal kids. Well, it's like, oh, you're the pastor's kids. Or we would have a neighbor come and say, when I knew who did that, it was your child. And it was like the high expectation that other people had of our children, they couldn't cope with. So one of our boys, I think he did everything he could to prove that he wasn't like us. He was different. He wanted to be different. He wanted to not be like us. He wanted to live his own life. So therefore he lived a really bad life.
Also Graham was a pastor at that time.
Yeah, we're both pastors, yeah.
Oh, you're both pastors. Oh, okay. That's adding up a bit more. Do you think both of them were trying to sort of, get their independence and be different, or was one doing it and the other following?
No, as pastors in the Salvation Army, we trained to be together as pastors in a church together, and so we were
equally.
Yeah, we were co-workers together in the church as ministers.
Yeah, but with your 2 sons, do you think it was like did one of them play out first and did they feed off each other, or do you think they both sort of independently had their own paths and both their pastors were sort of, as you said, normal kids, which wasn't sort of in line with how they should be, especially as you 2 being pastors?
I think they both took different lines, really. They're both quite different as boys.
Yeah.
And they both went their different ways, really, but they're good mates now. They get on okay.
Oh.
But they had their own life experiences, and it was a pretty rough time for us during those years.
I bet. 他说就是他们2个都是那个教会的头，我不知道这个应该传教 我可能不是很了解这个单词，但是就是里面有一个教会，然后有一个头，他们两个都是头，所以他们会尤其是对孩子有比较严格的那个期待，然后也其实给一整个教会就是有展示一下，所以就是他说第二、第三，他们可能就很反对，都是有自己的路。然后他说就是他们长大的时候，尤其是那时候就比较困难。然后对，okay, that's really interesting, and that's painting sort of I mean, we'll say some of the hardship that you two went through. But here's the thing: we haven't talked much about the oldest one. The oldest one, none of this would happen. It was just all he sort of lived up to the expectation. It was relatively smooth sailing.
Yeah, he was a pretty good boy.
Well, sort of.
He didn't give us a lot of heartache. And he's married now they've got 8 children in their family. He's got a...
Oh, wow. So because you had 10 grandkids, and then I just assumed it would be evenly distributed, but it was 8, 1 and 1 or something.
No, the eldest son's got 8 children. They've got a blended family. He had one before he was married, and then she had 2, then they had 5 together.
Okay.
Our middle son is not married, and our youngest son is not married, but he's got 2 children.
Yeah. So that's how they all sort of come together. And then it's interesting because when you talk about marriage, like maybe I might be wrong, but especially inside of the church's age and probably in the past, the marriage would maybe be the important thing. But really, I felt like what you were saying before, it's more that like contract, that agreement that you have so you can work things out with the partner.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
I was blabbering a little bit because I was sort of connecting things. It's hard, like when I say it out and then some things have been picked up and some things haven't. Graham, particularly at the start, was saying, you made your covenant to I think it was the God or something, and then you almost treated it, or like marriage, almost like a contract where it's about both parties having a common goal. And so what I was linking it to, which might not necessarily be your words, it's my words, particularly your youngest who's not married but has 2 kids. Actually, I need to ask a question. I'm just making assumptions. Does he have a partner?
Oh, which one?
The third one, the youngest one.
The youngest one doesn't have a partner right now, no.
Okay, sorry. So I assume when you said he had 2 kids, he would be a partner, and they just weren't, say, married, but they might have been together, and that's where all that thought came from. No, I see. Okay.
The youngest one is a solo dad. He's got a 6-year-old son to look after. That's the one we help with. The middle son has no children. And the oldest son, the 2
5 of his own, but
the 2 youngest ones, the difficulty was they both got into drugs and alcohol, and that really really wrecked their lives for a good number of years. But fortunately, they have both now come out the other side of that and are doing much, much better.
And they're open and they talk about it. Like you can talk about it with them
to some degree. Yeah.
We went through the recovery program with Shane, our youngest son, so that gave us an understanding of the drug, how it controls people, and we learned a lot about that and could understand. It's like you can't just say to an addict, "Stop," it's not good. It's actually a really bad addiction, and they can't stop. It's just like somebody who wants to eat chocolate all the time. They just, that's what they want to do. But the drug, of course,
that's my addiction.
10 times worse than that. And it's really hard if you get into hard drugs to actually just stop. And a rehab program is helpful for a lot of people. Not for everyone, but for our son it was. He got him through, and he's been clean for 10 years or so, but he has binged every now and again, and he comes through it.
Yeah. Well, that's really hard, and that's really big. Should I translate before I say it? 就他们也刚刚分享，就是他第2、第3的那些儿子都是可能有毒品的那些问题，然后他也在分享，就是第2个儿子，就最近2年都没有，他已经过去那段的时间，然后他说就是他恢复的那个过程也特别困难，然后他也更了解他的那个毒品 我也听到这个很重的一个话题，我也蛮感动的，然后觉得对他们来说也很大的困难。Yeah, like that's really hard for the two of you. Like, and I mean, I'm not a parent, so I can't put myself in those shoes, but I feel like naturally at times, I mean, obviously you want to do the best you can to help them, but then it's like at times it's like you might I should ask a question. Would you feel like that's your fault, or were there times that you would be like asking yourself, what did I do wrong? Why is this like happening?
Yes, I have. Yeah, I've often thought, and I've said to them, where did I go wrong as a dad? What's happened? And I did feel guilty for quite a while. Not guilty, but I felt that I've
responsible.
Let them down. But they always assured me, look, we've made decisions of our own, and it's not that you've done things wrong or that it's just the way they've been, the direction they've chosen for themselves, and we've had to be part of that. It's affected us. It's affected us for many years. But I want to sort of emphasize that I think it's one of the things that's got us through that is our faith. If we had no faith, if we had no God that would guide us through this time, we would be a wreck by now. But we have confidence in God, and we believe that God has brought us through these times. And we've come relatively unscarred through it, really. But we've got we've got those hurts that are there, but we don't hold grudges against our children. We're not bringing it up all the time. But we just do the best we can as each day goes by, and we get on well.
A little bit more about the faith. I'm just thinking of our own to translate that. How would I? When you say faith, it's like, is it faith that there's going to be, it's all part of the plan, or is it going to be a brighter future, or is it like how, I'm just thinking about the exact word I'll use to let people.
I guess like you do believe what the Bible says, and if you pray and you ask for things, God does give it, depending on what it is. In our case, I knew that one day our son would come back into church, and he did, and that's a miracle when you know where he has come from. He's was a drug addict, and he was also came out as gay, and he lived a gay lifestyle for about 15 years, and that's something we had to work through too. I would like to say though, the lifestyles that they lived, we didn't like, but it was more important for me as a mother to work on my relationship with them and to love them, for them to see, okay, we're not accepting what you're doing, but we accept you because you're our child and we still love you, and nothing can separate me, my love for my children. It doesn't matter what they do, and that's the important issue for me, and that's how I got through it.
Yeah, that's good. 他刚刚就分享，就是可能他们会有过说这些不好的或者这些困难的，但是他一直就是很爱他的孩子，然后也会相信这个是他们要走的一条路。我也开始问有没有会觉得是错误，他们说当然你会觉得自己的错误，但是后来就会。他最后的就是说，就是也很爱这些孩子，我相信这个时候会出来。然后他说，现在他还是跟他的孩子，就是也回来了，然后跟他的关系也比较好，然后可能可以说孩子长大了，然后对他心里面都是爱。Yeah, that last bit's really touching, and that like I could translate super easily. Yeah, like I guess I also added it, which is probably exactly what you're saying, that it's kind of like I can feel there's like it's quite a journey. So like I said, it wasn't necessarily smooth sailing, but you've got to where you are now, and you saying love was like a key part of it, really.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think like any difficult thing in life and challenges in life whatever it is, if you can work through those things, it builds your character and it makes you a better person. And that's what it's done for me.
OK， 他也说就是你有生活，然后生活会有一些挑战，然后如果你能过那些挑战，会让你的性格或者你的人的水平会升级或者提高了。然后他说遇到这些困难，然后过他们，也会让他就升级了，或者他的那个性格也提高了。所以这些挑战就是你就要坚持，然后要过，也未来可能会更亮。So that's a really good way of thinking it. That it's like, you know, the challenge isn't part of it, but it builds character in the end, and as long as you get through them, then it works out.
Yeah, well, again, that's how our faith has helped us, and also the support of our church family. You have people praying for you, you have people supporting you, and it's so important. We have got the support of hundreds of people, even people we don't know. So we've been able to get through with all their support and love as well.
Yeah, and so that support network really helps to to reinforce it and then help get you through. Yeah. 他也说他们周围也有很多的朋友也会支持他们的，就是也会有一些不认识的人，他们也知道这个情况，然后他说这个也是会让他过那些困难的。对。Then what about on like changing the, I guess, well, it was a really deep, I feel like it was a deep rabbit hole or a deep talk I went into. I was going to say on like a positive side, what about some of the we're looking over a 61-year time phrase here. It could be about kids. It could be actually, how about more about the two of you? Over the two of you, what's have been some any moments or like experiences where you've it could be this faith, or it could be the love, or just moments that you want to share. And that
I think when you're growing older, you change, your looks and everything change. You look, but you actually don't see the outside, you see the inside. And I've been in and out of hospital, and I was seriously sick in hospital. And one of the things my husband had to do, because I didn't have a nurse to take me to the toilet, was to go to the toilet with me. And he's sitting there with me on the toilet trying to go to the toilet. And I looked at him and said, for better, for worse, and sickness and health, which is our marriage vow. And we laugh about things. We laugh about ourselves because we're getting older and we do stupid things, or, we laugh at each other. We have a sense of humor. Our family have a sense of humor. So we can laugh at who we are now and what we look like. And you look beyond, for me, I look beyond what Graham looks like now.
Yeah. 他说他看 Graham 也会超过他现在的样子，因为他们有这么长的时间，他也会加上就是他们里面也讲话，然后可能过一些东西会有很多的笑话在里面。他就是说一个例子，也有点难听点，就说一下他可能在他生病了，然后我忘记什么情况，他在厕所上，然后后来他就把你可以说一句话说出来，但是那句话就是他们里面两面的一个笑话，或者有一个梗，然后反正 Graham 就会懂，就是他现在看他可能不是他外貌，也不是他看起来这么样子，因为他们有这么长的时间也互相过了很多东西，所以就是反正基本上他说这个点就是他们互相的爱，然后就是不管外面的他的形象，他还是可以感觉到这个，然后这个也是一个可能是就是能代表他们两个的关系，然后说他们的爱的那个水平。
The problem is they keep telling Veronica she doesn't look any older, but they don't say that to me.
他也刚才说一个笑话，就是说有问题就是他们都会跟 Veronica 说，他每一年都会长得一样，不会变老了。但是他说问题存在，他们不会跟我说这个话。Oh, and that's probably, I mean, the bigger picture side, that's something that adds to your relationship and almost creates a bond. Is like all those experiences you had in the past and you've been through them, it's like the closeness between you two. I just feel it adds probably so much to like your relationship. And then like the humor on top of it like that as well.
Just say that again. Just couldn't quite get.
It was just a feeling I was trying to express, but I was saying that like all that time that you've been through and those experiences, that's why you can sort of look past how you are and you know each other so well that you can make these jokes. But really it's like for outsiders, it's impossible because they don't know each other as well. So that kind of what I'm trying to say inside of that sort of is showing the relationship and the level of love through that journey or through those pages of time. That's how you can have those moments and share those things.
I think it's hard to describe really. I think a relationship it's a daily thing. You're just working on it each day. There are little things that annoy you each day, or the little things that make you happy each day. There are things that you think you should have done for your spouse, and there are things you think your spouse should have done for you. But you just sort of little ups and downs all the way through. But at the end of the day, you have a bond that's you can't see that. You can't see it any other way. That's who you are. You belong to each other. You're a part of each other. And you work through the little differences you have as you go along, and I think that's basically what we've done right through, really.
他刚刚说一个我觉得特别好听的一个话，就是他说他们天天就是他天天会感觉到，就是我是不是应该为对对方做这个事情，然后也有时候他说对方应该给我做这个事情，就是基本上来说这个可能每天都会有一些小的东西他就会思想，但他说结果不管只是小的，他就说他如果从远看他的那个生活，他没想到他生活会有其他的方式，所以他也说就假如没有他完全想不到是什么样子的，所以就是基本上他每一天就是都会试让这个更好，但是反正他还觉得就因为有这么长的时间的这么长的故事，应该是故事，这么多的故事，就算是他们在一起，然后他也完全想不到，就是假如他没有这个在他的生活当中。Yeah, it is like even me saying it, like I'm repeating what your words with type thing. Like it's hard for me to imagine, or it's hard for me to imagine. But I'm also getting inflections of just me and my day-to-day life, and I live with my parents, and like all the little things that just go on, and it's you can if you don't unless you think about it. I'm getting you to think about it by asking you these questions. It's very hard to like express and imagine things in a different way.
I don't know what to say. I think sometimes I think it would be good to have to be able to do more together. Like we don't do a lot of things outside of the home. That's what I'm saying. We most of our life together is sort of in the home or in very close proximity to the home. We don't do a lot of adventuring together. So for example, we've done had 2 or 3 holidays, but we spend most of our time together in and around the home, involved with family things and doing things with the family. So in one sense, our life is very, very ordinary. But
very ordinary is actually not that ordinary.
Well, no, I was going to say, in another sense, we have a great sense of success and achievement.
Yeah,
so a lot of people doing exciting things aren't that happy inside and are not finding enjoyment in what they have. But finding enjoyment in who you are and who you're with is more important, and that's I think we've sort of found a fairly good position there.
Yeah, I want to say that. 他也刚刚在思想，然后反回看，就是他们现在花大部分的时间在他的家，还有他的那个房子比较附近的。然后他也是反复说，就觉得我的生活其实挺普通的。然后我说，其实普通没那么普遍的。 然后后来他说，哎，对，确实是，他也有一些人可能会做一些夸张的事情，但是那个可能就是或者就是到处都跑，但他可能里面还是有一些就问题在。然后他说，反正他们里面就是看重家庭，所以他们就是也会离他的家不是很远，然后他基本上天天做的事情也会跟他的家庭是有相关的。Yeah, and there's a lot. I think there's a lot to be said about that. Like, an ordinary life isn't that ordinary, and then people that have ordinary lives, it's actually in some ways extraordinary because these days, like, yeah, people that do probably extreme and maybe do adventurous things, maybe underneath there's like it's escapement or trying to fulfill something. Whereas on the flip side, it's like I'm feeling it's while you've had some of these difficulties that you shared about with some of your family members, but still together and you're still like a unit.
Yeah. I think like we know family and friends who've got like financially more than what we have, and yet their marriage isn't happy. There are a lot of people, money doesn't bring happiness in a marriage. And we find that we've got a good marriage, and that's really important, more important to us than having a lot of money and a lot of things that other people don't have. I mean, money can't buy you happiness in a marriage.
Yeah. And that's an illusion, I feel, especially with like, I'm probably more a younger generation, but I think a lot of youth today think their money will buy them happiness and it will buy them all these things. And I think for focusing on that, like you're saying that, I can see that, them focusing on that, it may bring them what they think is happiness, which is short-term gratification, but this long view of, even said the word ordinary or just that relationship together, that's what it will lack out on. Like that's what we're lacking. And I've got some friends that are mega successful in financial terms, but like, yeah, their family life in disarray because it's sort of, humans are sort of complex, and you've got to, it's not just like a simple, humans are complex, and it's not simple. And money can buy you things, it can buy you survival, but it doesn't buy you that sort of satisfaction. And really, ultimate satisfaction is people and family and the relationships you have with them.
One of my favorite quotes from the Apostle Paul, the great Apostle Paul, is he said, "Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility, let each consider others better than themselves." And I think that's a key thing in a marriage, is to consider that your spouse is better than you. And I hope my spouse would think that I'm better than him. It works both ways.
Like that, I mean, I'm going to definitely say that and summarize that, especially for the viewers. If you think your spouse is better than you, and it goes both ways, that's the key, because in society these days, it's almost been reversed, where it's sort of like a me culture, and it's me being better than everybody. But when it's me better than everybody, it just doesn't work. And I think that's also what business culture and even the world of success tends to breed. Less, I mean, maybe in the ultimate, like I'll say team sports or something, it's really good when it's about others being better than you and you sort of living up to it. But what you experience tends to be the reverse. It's sort of me being better than others and all this me culture, but really it lacks in the relationship. So what I'm going to summarize is just, that the key to a perfect relationship is thinking your partner's better than you and all thinking about others. It's just so true. Let me just try to say that. 就基本上我聊了，跟他们聊，就是他就说在他们的那个婚姻，他就觉得对方都比他好。后来他的老婆说，哈哈哈，我比他好了。然后后来基本上他就是开玩笑，因为他也觉得 Graham 也比他好，所以我就刚刚跟他一个对话，然后基本上说。尤其是另外一个东西没反应，就是前的那个对话。他说，确实他们的家庭可能没算那么富有，没算那么有钱的，但他们的那个人对人的关系是比较好的。然后他们也认识一些其他的家庭，他确实很富有，但是他们心里就不满意，然后可能不开心的。所以刚刚把那个话题基本上变成到就是那个有钱的，然后也会跟人在一起的，然后可能我们三个都会同意，就是你人对人的关系确实比你有什么东西重要的。So I kind of summarized all what we talked about inside there, and that's really, really good like that. I mean, you've realized that, and then it's sort of about priorities in some ways and what people prioritize in life.
Our priorities.
Well, I was thinking not even sure your priorities. I was just saying like the sort of what you're saying about your relationship being good, and there's been other families that maybe they're financially more successful, but it's like they might put their prioritization on that rather than that relationship between them. So for humans and just different people, it's sort of, like I guess for you two, I'd say you prioritized what was right in your situation, and it's made you to be happy out of it, which is ultimately I think how most people want to be. It's just people can't necessarily see what the road to happiness would be.
It's at the end of the day, I mean, we've got Bron, who's got got sisters that are married. I've got brothers and sisters that are married. We all have a slightly different approach in our marriage relationships, but at the end of the day, there's a real commitment between the partners to find that common ground to make that marriage work. Realizing that the other option of separation or divorce is an ugly option. It is just not a pleasant thing, and it's worth working through things when things are difficult. It's just really worth making it work. We've found that.
I'm going to translate that sentence, and can one of you two just see if Danielle's there while I say it, to try to call her in, because I just looked at the time and there's something she knows, I know she wants to say and wants to do. 就他说就是基本上结果不管这么多东西，就是我很难说，我也有点忘记了他说一些话，然后就是我翻译一下，就是他说对，他说他们也会有亲戚，就是他们两个都会有亲戚，然后也有一些结婚，有一些离婚，然后基本上你只有那个选择，就是在一起坚持，或者就是离婚。然后如果离婚，可能要单独过这个生活。他们两个都不是那样的人，所以他们就是想一辈子过在一起，所以他们的选择都是努力。现在 Danielle 来了，然后做一个。
谢谢 Alex 今天的同声传译和你的这个 co-host。感谢啊！然后你知道我们今天是在 Veronica 和 Ram 的家里，但是呢，爱到 tradition 让我们传统节目到最后，我们有一个哒啦，你还记得吗？这是我们送给他们的礼物。So grandchildren, Ram and Veronica, this is our tradition, and our guest couple always reach for a little present in the end. So, would you like to open it? Okay, so would you like me to read for you, Fran? And this reward is for one of the most happily married couple in New Zealand.
Oh wow! Now we're really going to work at it.
Yeah, and Veronica. We celebrate your love, success, appreciate your generosity and wisdom. We acknowledge your contribution and commitment to make a profound difference to others. August 8th, 2022.
Oh, very nice.
Soulmate Coach Team and Happily After Project.
Oh, thank you very much. Very nice. Thank you.
I noticed you have a beautiful, decoration. This is one of them you can put down. So,
we will show it to our children.
Yes, please.
Yes.
This is the legacy you leave behind.
Well, we hope so. We hope so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being on our show. Even though I have not been present interview, but I hear in the background Alex been so good. Ask all the questions.
Well, and they've been great. Like especially some of those topics were pretty hard to share. And thank you so much for your authenticity and being able to share those topics.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
That's the thing. Nobody open their home really authentic, sharing their love and their life and family. So this is a big thing for us. I really appreciate that you guys opened it. There's around 3,000 people watching tonight.
Okay.
In China and here.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
And
so even if it just helps one of them, it's worth it. But hopefully all those people will find different pieces that will spark them to have ideas and think and maybe have some change.
Oh, well, I hope so. Well, yeah. Thank you for that. It's been a privilege to be a part of your program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
来，我们照一张合照啊，这是我们这个
We're gonna take like a group photo somehow. Danielle
together.
knows how she's gonna do it. I'm just gonna stand here and look at this.
Jay,
Cheese.
cheese. Yeah. 今天感谢大家的收看啊！你看我们的节目上3期都是到嘉宾的家里，所以呢有孩子的，所以这就是生活。然后感谢我的这个好的伙伴们，感谢天文小伙伴一路这个季度的守候和帮助，也感谢所有的这个我们的观众还有场观朋友们、小伙伴们的这几个月来一直观看我们的节目。然后呢 ，Happily After Project， 我们后会有期啊，可能下一个季度就在澳大利亚了，就去布里斯班。所以 Alex, watch out next episode and next season maybe shooting in Brisbane.
I will.
感谢大家，也感谢老雷，感谢 Veronica 和 Brad， 我们天维网幸福婚恋。